I'm taking a 1981 Camaro Z28 and turning it into something the factory never dared to build. But there is one massive limiting factor. This car has more rust than a shipwreck at the bottom of the Atlantic. In the last episode, I rebuilt the entire floor and took huge strides towards making this Widebody Z a reality. Today, I have to tackle the remaining rust on this entire car, and I also want to design and build a frame and suspension setup in the rear to get that perfect, aggressive, lowered stance like in the concept image. We got a plan, we got to get to work and get this thing built. To get the exact stance I'm after on this car, I'm going to be going with a 4-link suspension setup, and I think that's going to be the best way to handle some high horsepower while keeping things stable and adjustable at the same time. So I decided to order a universal 4-link suspension kit, and it just showed up. So let's crack open these boxes and see what we got. So this is the JEGS Universal 4-link kit. I've got it all laid out. We have our 4-link bars. We've got all the brackets front and back and the lower coilover brackets right there. Of course, all the hardware and all the rod ends as well. And to give you guys an idea of what all this stuff is gonna look like, we've got the instructions right here. So you can see the front and rear bracket. And over here we have our 4-link track rod kit. So these pieces right here are gonna slide into the ends, and that's gonna have to be welded in. And what this is gonna do is it's gonna connect the 4-link bars together so that the rear end doesn't move side to side. We're gonna go over all of this later on. And finally, we have the anti-roll bar kit for the rear as well. So I can't just bolt these brand new suspension parts to this old rusty car. I need to do some major surgery to get some strength back into this thing. When this car rolled in the shop, it was about 1 rust particle away from falling apart. So in the last episode, I had ordered up some brand new rear frame rails and a taillight panel from JEGS. With those parts, it's gonna allow me to reinforce the entire rear of this car and get it ready for that 4-link suspension. Lots of work to do, so I'm gonna grab some tools and start cutting some rust. Now that is a lot of rust and rot deleted out of the car. Sure feels good getting all of this crust out of the way. But we're not done. Long ways to go on this car. Still a lot of rust, so we got to keep going. So up here, the metal is actually quite decent. It is scaly, so I'm gonna have to clean it up before installing that frame rail. My piece of cardboard to an actual piece of steel. Just finished making those brand new floor pieces and I got them welded in. I'm gonna leave this as is for now because it's plenty strong. I wanna move my focus to getting this taillight panel installed. And that's gonna get a lot of strength back in this car. So I just got some measurements, 43 7/8 to the other side. I'll just make sure that the car doesn't move while I cut out this old rust. But we're gonna get this new Jegs taillight panel installed. So start cutting. Uh-oh. Full battery on this Milwaukee angle grinder and we have no power, so it finally called it quits after years of abuse. It's time to upgrade. So to quickly get me by, I ended up using a corded angle grinder and it was absolutely horrible. I hate corded tools now that we have some awesome battery powered stuff. So what I ended up doing is contacting Arc Captain and they sent me their brand new angle grinder for me to try out. I'm excited, and if this works as good as their welders and plasma cutters, I mean, I'm in good hands. So opening the box, you can see that everything you need to start cutting is included in the packaging. And the tool itself is jam-packed with some awesome features. We're gonna go over that in a minute. Comes with a handle, a guard, some cutting wheels, grinding discs, two 4 amp hour batteries with the charger, of course. And this tool is also compatible with Makita batteries as well. You can angle the head so that you can get comfortable in basically any cutting position. So that's a super cool feature. And then you also have 3 different speeds. So low speed, 3 different speeds for whatever you want to do. You can polish on the low speed, super handy for stuff like that. And then obviously when you want to cut fast, high speed. So before I tell you guys to go out and buy one of these $109 Arc Captain angle grinders, I'm gonna put it to the test, see if it survives all the abuse I can throw at it, and then if it does, it's a steal of a deal. So right now, let's get back to the car. We'll use this thing, the entire build, so let's get to work. Cut off a section of the taillight panel, and I'm gonna try to get the air chisel under the seam right here and pop off the rest of this rusty mess. Going in for the test fit. Let's see how this Jag's taillight panel fits. Seems to fit pretty good. Oh yeah, that's perfect. A1. I'm working away on the back of the car over here, and I've got a dilemma. So you can see some major rust where I have to attach my taillight panel. So I cut out this section right here. I'm gonna have to make a brand new piece. The driver's side, the metal's pretty good. So I wire wheeled it clean. I'll be able to tack it onto this clean steel. And then once I have my taillight panel installed, this is all gonna get sandblasted, cleaned up, and then we'll fix up whatever we have to at that point. So now it's time to make some patch panels. Let's get to it. So it's finally time to install this taillight panel for good. And one thing that I saw in the comments in the last video is how thick was the metal. And I have to say, I'm impressed. It's as thick as original, if not thicker. And for the price, I didn't really expect it to be this good. And this is definitely gonna be stronger than what I had on the car before. So let's get this thing welded in. So now the rear of this car is very strong. This ain't going anywhere. And with the measurements I took earlier, nothing moved. So I'm happy with how that turned out. So now I just got some square tubing. Let me show you what I'm gonna do with this. This 2x3 tubing is gonna be used to make the frame of the car. It's gonna add a lot of strength, and it's also gonna allow me to make some frame connectors later on. So I put a marking where I'm gonna cut this rear frame rail section, and then I'm gonna join the square tubing to it and extend it out towards the front of the car. So let me cut that where I put the marking, and we'll weld it up. So I've made these fish plates to strengthen the joint at the rear frame rails here. It's going to be plug welded and I'll weld all the way around. And keep in mind that these frame rails are going to be welded solid to the entire floor, so there's no way this is going to snap off. Alright, so I have both of the frame pieces welded in, fish plated, and ready to go. So now I'm gonna make the frame connectors that are gonna connect the front frame to the rear frame. And that's gonna solidify this whole car because it's gonna have a bunch more horsepower. So my front chassis is currently outside, so I'm gonna go grab it, roll it back in the shop, and we're gonna be able to keep the progress going. Alright, so the front frame is in the shop, and if you guys remember taking this off of the car, it was in really good shape. The only thing I'll have to do is just strip everything down and get everything sandblasted and either painted or powder coated. We'll figure that out as we go. But right now, focus is getting everything stripped down, and these bolts are quite crusty, so it could be a challenge, but we got to get it done. So let's dive in, get this thing stripped down to the bare frame rails so we can figure out our frame connectors. Yep, that's stuck. Come on. There we go. Whew. Not much left of this one. It's out. Trying to take out this steering box, and the pitman arm is stuck to the steering links. There we go. All right, how do I get this out of here? Steering box is out. Here I wanted to mention that all the control arms, the brakes, the knuckles, basically everything but the frame rails isn't going back on the car. I'm gonna be putting everything brand new, and this car has to drop a lot more than factory, so I don't think stock control arms are gonna work, but we're gonna figure that out later on. For an almost 45-year-old frame, it's pretty amazing how good of a shape this is in. You can see shiny new steel almost everywhere, and there's no deep pitting. However, one thing I want to mention is how horrible the factory welds are. Check these out. I mean, I couldn't believe it. So right here, I am spray painting this frame, and that's just going to be used as a guide coat for when I sandblast this frame, and that's going to prep it for powder coating. So to connect the rear frame to the front frame, I'm gonna need some bushings here as well to allow a bit of give. So what I've been doing is designing some mounts for those bushings. And this is kind of the design I came up with. I think that's gonna work really well. It's gonna be super strong. That's gonna look pretty cool as well. So I'm gonna make one mount there and then one on the bottom, wherever it needs to be, up or down. I'll figure that out. But right now, I'm gonna make this out of steel and we're gonna weld it in. So I just finished drilling the hole in the mount for the new bushings that I got. These are universal polyurethane mounts or bushings, and they're gonna sit just like that. So it's gonna work. Let's go get this welded onto the car. So using the same method, I just finished making a couple more mounts, and these are gonna be the bottom mounts for the bushings on the rear frame here. So just like that. Looks pretty cool. I got this one made as well. So I'd say that's a success. It's welded in. All right, so I just dropped the car back down to examine all the work I've done. And so far, I'm happy with it. I've got my frame connectors in place on both sides. Got the cross member in, not quite done yet. I'm gonna have to build a driveline hoop and cut out the section that's in the way of the drive shaft right now. So a little bit of figuring out there to do, but that's gonna be pretty easy. Rear frame is in, and I got my brackets for the bushings. That's looking super good. So everything is under control here. So these T-top cars were known to be very soft and not really built for some high horsepower. So to add some rigidity, obviously I'm not gonna modify the T-top portion of it. I'm gonna be modifying the pillars here where a lot of the power gets transferred, that and through the floor. So my floor and those pillars are gonna get beefed up quite a bit. So that's gonna add a lot of rigidity and it's gonna be able to handle a lot more horsepower. So right now, we've got some major issues right there. So I'm not gonna be replacing that rust with the same original factory steel. I'm gonna be putting some thicker steel and making my own plates to tie into this entire floor section of the back seat. So everything is gonna be very strong, it's gonna look cool, and it's gonna add a lot of rigidity for some more horsepower, because that's what this car needs. You guys have seen the concept image. The car just can't look menacing, it has to perform as well. So that's why we're beefing everything up. So the next step is figuring out some plates to tie into my pillars. This side is the same deal, super rusty. And unfortunately, in the last episode, you guys watched me make these nice patch panels, but change of plans. I think my floor is gonna be coming in to tie in higher than these patch panels anyway. So scrap that idea. We're just gonna make some new stuff all around. So let's start figuring out this pillar and backseat floor situation, and we'll be well on our way of eliminating 100% of the rust on this car. So this dogleg section was absolutely terrible, and you can see that they actually patched it before. So you know it's bad when it's rusty and it's already been patched. So now what I have to do to fix this up is put a new section of rocker panel that goes all the way down to the wheel tub. I'm gonna make it out of thicker steel to make this stronger. This inner piece here is supposed to come down and connect to it. Obviously, we've got nothing left. So we'll have to figure out how to connect that to the rocker panel. I have a plan, so we'll go over it in a minute. So right now, we gotta make a piece to keep on going. Obviously, this entire rocker is rotten and it's gonna have to be replaced, but I don't wanna do all that work just yet because I'm gonna have to make some custom skirts to make it look like this awesome Camaro render. So we're gonna do that in the future. Right now, I just wanna get everything strong and then I'll be able to replace the bottom of the rocker down the road. It won't bother anything. If you guys missed the last episode, I actually received this car from a good friend of mine who gave it to me for free. So it's a pretty good deal. And I was just checking out these pieces on here to see if they were rusty. They seem pretty good, so I think I might be able to use them on my 81 instead of making brand new pieces from scratch. So I'm gonna go get the Arc Captain angle grinder and we're gonna chop this up. The inner piece is also in really good shape, which was quite surprising. So a bit of cleanup and this is ready for my car. So here we have the two pieces from the car outside, the 79. So this is obviously the outer piece. And then here we have the inner, which was completely gone on the car. So right now, everything's out of there. We cut out all the rust. So if we put in this piece right here, like so, and then put this piece on top, that looks pretty good. So once that is welded in, it's gonna be a lot better than what it was, and it's gonna be very strong. Man, that is looking good. It's positioned exactly where I need it. Spot welded in place, welded and grinded down smooth up top. So now I have to focus on getting the inside done. So I marked where I have to cut out this old section. And where's that piece? I'm gonna be welding in this piece right here. So that's gonna tidy up this interior side. So let's get to it. Now we're talking. This car has never been more solid than right now. We've got a lot of strength in our dog leg. Brand new metal. Well, I shouldn't say brand new, but it's from a different car. And we've got something to weld our back seat floor to as well now. And every single thing we did on that side, I did on this side as well. So you can see this side is fully repaired and this side was even worse. I did film the entire thing, but it's quite repetitive. So I just figured I'd skip those parts and you guys can see the finished product. Exact same process as the other side. So for the outside section here, I'm not gonna do any more work here. This is done for now because obviously with the wide body concept, I'm gonna have to rework this entire fender flare. So I'm not gonna do anything major here until I have my wheel placement figured out. and I can start making that flare. And for the rocker panel, this isn't welded at all because it's all gonna get cut out, and we're gonna have to modify that to make some skirts and replace the rusty metal that's in there now. With that new plate, we have to start designing our floor for the back seat, which is gonna connect to it. It's gonna be welded all around, and that's gonna reinforce this entire car once again. So right here, I need a piece that's 7 inches long. I just measured, and that's gonna go all the way across. I'll just have to notch for that transmission tunnel. So let's get to cutting. All right, so the car is up in the air and I have all the frame rail stuff, the brackets, the floor. So everything is pretty much roughed out and I have a pretty clear vision of what I want to do to finish up the rest of this back seat area. The only thing stopping me right now is just kind of knowing where the drive shaft is going to pass. I'm scared to go any further because I think the drive shaft might be pretty close to the top of this tunnel. So I may have to raise the entire tunnel. So I think I'm just gonna hold off for now till I get a rear end in this car. And then obviously I'm gonna have to make the drive shaft hoop and eliminate this center section of the cross member. So after all of that work to get the rear of this car a lot stronger than what it was, it's finally time to install that 4-link suspension. I bought this piece of 3-inch tubing and that's gonna replicate the rear end of the car. So I have my piece of 3-inch tubing. And this is going to be my temporary rear end to position every piece of the 4-link. And my 4-link bracket should slide right onto it. Perfect. So that locates where this bracket's going to go. All I did for now is tape up the rod ends. I'm not going to weld them in just yet before I'm 100% certain on my bar length. And I also don't have the proper filler rod, so waiting for that to come in. Right now I'm going to mock up these bars in the car, and then I'll be able to figure out the torque boxes to attach these for good. With the Arc Captain Cut 55 non-HF, I started cutting out my torque boxes with a 3/16 steel sheet, and the Arc Captain cut beautifully. Nice clean cuts. So these are the 4-link brackets, and check out those clean cuts. Looks like I used a laser cutter to cut these, and ignore that right there. I'm gonna have to put a weld to fix that up. But these are gonna work perfectly. So these plates are gonna sit something like that, and that's gonna be welded to my 4-link bracket right there. So I'll have to make a plate in behind it to adapt both brackets together. So that's gonna be very strong. So I'm gonna tack everything in place. All right, so let me explain what we have going on with the frame connectors over here. Torque boxes are all done, grinded smooth, and everything's welded up. So it turned out really good. The Arc Captain MiG 205 MP does an amazing job. And these torque boxes are gonna be insanely strong. I also added in the gussets to prevent some side-to-side flex. I want it to be rigid, especially with a T-top car. And also up front here, which I didn't really show too much on camera, but I added a piece of flat bar. It's 2-inch flat bar and 1/4 inch thick. And that's gonna bolt up to the front frame of the car. And that's gonna join these two frames together, obviously. So I wanted to bolt these two frames together and not weld them together for the reason that I want to powder coat these two frame sections. But if they were welded together, I can't fit them in my oven. So I'll be able to separately powder coat each sections of frame. So I'm really happy with how this turned out. So now I have to add in my 4-link brackets to the torque boxes, and I already got my measurements on where they need to go when I had the frame in the car. So I'm just gonna tack them in place, and once I have the frame back in the car, I'll double check everything and then I'll weld everything solid. And the nice thing with the JEGS 4-link kit is that it comes with spacers so that you can just bolt your brackets together, and that gives you the perfect spacing without having to use your actual rod ends, because if you get some spatter on those rod ends, they're cooked. So pretty cool feature. So I'm gonna go ahead and tack this in place. We'll be good to go. Some of you guys may have noticed that the bushing brackets were gone, and I did remove them just to make an adjustment when I installed the 4-link. So now I'm just gonna weld it back in place, tack it in. So in this episode, the rear of the car has come a long ways from where we began. The brackets, the 4-link, it's all looking super good. Everything is kind of roughed out for the suspension, but right now the mock-up rear end is set to ride height, and right here you can see there's not much clearance between the rear end tubing and the frame, so that's a big problem. So from here I'm gonna have to cut out this section of frame and basically C-notch the car. Same deal over here. So that's gonna be a ton of work. So this JEGS 4-link kit doesn't come with the actual coilovers, but I'm gonna be installing some QA1 coilovers on this car. The JEGS kit does, however, come with the coilover mounts, and those are gonna be located right there. The problem is that with this coilover, this mount has to be attached on the bottom, and you can see that it just does not fit. The coilover has nowhere to go. So again, once I C-notch my rear frame, I'll have to C-notch it tall enough so that I can mount this coilover as well. So it's a lot of figuring out to do, part of these projects. Another thing I wanted to show you guys that not many people are gonna know about this car. So right here, you can see the center line of the wheel arch is right about here, and my rear end is moved like 3 inches backwards. I think that's gonna make the car look a little bit longer, and it's gonna make it look lower, just like the concept image. And it's gonna be a subtle detail that I think it's gonna change the entire look of this car for the better. So with the universal 4-link kit, it's pretty easy to move the wheel back, but obviously the wheel arch is gonna have to come up and move back at the same time. The other thing is the wheel is gonna be coming up to around here. So the wheel arch is gonna have to be raised a ton to fit those massive tires and those big wheels as well. The car is gonna look insane. I can't wait to see it just on the ground with some tires as big as those. It's gonna be incredible, but we've got lots of work to do before then. But I am happy with the progress I was able to make in this episode, and I'm gonna have to figure out how to get my anti-roll bar installed and the track rod as well. So after this entire video of using this Arc Captain angle grinder, I can confidently say that it works really well. And the battery on this thing is awesome. It lasts just as long as my 5-amp battery on my Milwaukee. So if it's going head to head with Milwaukee batteries, I can't complain one bit. This thing has been awesome. I highly recommend it, especially for $109. I mean, that's a bargain. So what do you guys think of this Camaro build so far? If you have any ideas or changes that you'd like to see with this build, let me know in the comments below. I'm gonna go through all of them, and we're still in the early stages, so changes are welcome. So with that being said, I appreciate all of you guys for watching, and the next episode hopefully doesn't take as long to come out as this one. There was a lot of work to do, and I did a lot of filming to prepare for the future as well. So lots of content coming. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.